What do you do when you've lost your funding? This is extraordinarily common when you are a PhD, maybe you are an entrepreneur, maybe you are in a leadership position in a company and you've lost your funding. I've got a simple answer for you when this happens, and that's giddy up. That's when you know you're actually in the fight, when you lose your funding. This is extraordinarily common for people to go through these different experiences or have difficulty trying to actually get funding. I've experienced that a lot. I'm going to give you two examples and then tell you how you should actually process this in terms of dealing with all of those feelings, all those emotions that happen when you lose your funding. The first moment is when I was finishing my PhD. I ran out of time. I finished my PhD, I did everything correctly, but then I couldn't get a job. So there was a length of time, roughly about a year and a half, that I was unfunded. And so it was up to me to figure out how to get this funding and what to do. And what I did is just keep doing my thing so that I could survive. We cut back a lot and we just survived. Now, the second time that is really important is building the reciprocity project. So I've been building out this project for 8 years now, and I thought it would be easy to actually get funding because I'm trying to help out researchers and PhDs. But I quickly realized that that is not as easy as you thought, or as I thought. So I had to actually do this on my own. And so it's been my wife and I that are 100% funding this project all by ourselves. Now, every once in a while, you do get your hopes up and something comes your way, and you think that it's actually going to work out for you. You know, people come by and they say that there's funding opportunities, and all of those things happen, and you apply for different grants and things like that. But ultimately, it doesn't pan out. And this is where I say giddy up. At this point, I ultimately don't trust the market. And I don't trust a lot of these sort of signals, these positive signals that you get. And I've become very immune to positive signals that you get. And I simply just don't trust them at the get-go. Not until you actually get the money in hand do you trust them. And even then, it's not necessarily something that you should trust. But I think everybody that has either been in some sort of position like this, whether you are taking a leadership position, like an entrepreneurial thing, or you're trying to fund your PhD or get research grants or any number of different things, you become immune to it and you become desensitized to it. And to me, I just say, giddy up. This is the moment where I stand up and I get going and I say, okay, it's going to be me that is actually going to make this happen. Nobody else. I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to walk forward and realize what I need to do. Here's the thing. You can't trust any of these sources that come your way in terms of free money or any number of different things. You have to be ready for it. This is what it means to be a grown up. This is what it means to actually take life and live life, because things don't work out as planned. You have to look at this world and say, okay, let's figure this out. Let's figure out what is going to happen. What is going to be the next step? I am going to move forward step by step by step. And I'm going to try to avoid all of those emotions that come my way. You know, I wish that there was an easier answer to this, but the answer is always the same thing. Just repeat what you are doing and try to change the language, try to figure out how to actually make this happen. Now, this is where you have to lose all of those sort of preconceived notions of success and all of that stuff as people sort of recognize it to be, and just start putting on your work boots. This is where you get up and you do the work, step by step by step. And I've done this so long that you kind of get used to it. It becomes part of who you are, where you think, you know what? I'm not going to trust any of those sources. I'm not actually going to take any of these risky bets before it actually happens anymore. And I'm going to take a step every single day, regardless of what is going to go on around me in terms of the infrastructure that is happening. I could tell you to go do all of these fancy things, like go try to find another funding source, which you should do. Go try to find alternative ways and diversify and all of these kind of fancy things. But the first thing that you have to realize when you do this is that you have to get back up. You have to take it in the chin and say, okay, that wasn't going to happen in the first place. And then you walk forward regardless of the experiences that you have. It is part of the journey to do this where nobody else is going to come to the rescue and you have to do it yourself. The way that I think about this is I ultimately change the story where instead of thinking of myself as, oh, poor me, this funding source dried up and all of those kind of things that you think about. And I know I've been there. I know these experiences. I very much know all of those experiences. I'm deeply, deeply understanding of those experiences. But you get back up and you do it again, regardless of what happens. And you just keep taking those steps forward. You become the hero in your own story.